He's an introvert, interviewing strangers from the internet, knocking down the walls of his comfort zone, one conversation at a time. This is the Gary Cantrell Podcast.
The Gary Cantrell Podcast, March 18th, 2020. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you for listening. My guest this week, Vanessa. I'm going to get her on the line in just a moment. But first, let me tell you about my friends, the Patreon podcast producers. That's right. They are Kaitlyn at Kaitlyn Elise, that is 3 Y's in her name. Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey. Amanda at Mutts_and_Miles. And Morgan at DDPY Mama. These folks helping to keep the lights on. Throw them a follow on the gram. Say hello. Tell them I sent you. And if you want to join this group of folks, it's really simple. Head over to patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. This is one of the best ways to support the show. As cheap as $4 a month. You're going to get the show 5 days before everybody else. That is the weekly Wednesday show, 5 days before everybody else. So you're going to get it on Friday. The show's ad-free. It's a higher quality MP3. You get a personal RSS feed to add to your favorite podcast app. And you get 25% off all Hard Work Always Wins merchandise. Like literally, we're hooking it up for you. That starts at $4. If you go to the $10 a month, then you get your name in that exclusive group, the Patreon podcast producers, and everything else that I just mentioned. So there you go. Check it out. And if you can't support on Patreon, the other best way that I recommend is by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. If you've got an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac, an old PC from 2005 with your favorite emo pop punk playlist on iTunes, you can do this. Head over there to Apple Podcasts, or if you're on iTunes, the podcast section, type in Gary Cantrell Podcast and leave a review. That's it. If you love the show, leave a review. It helps more than you will ever know. Apple puts so much stock into these reviews, and I know there's a lot of people that love the show that just for whatever reason you haven't got around to leaving a review yet. If you can, please, I'm begging you, help me out. It's going to help the show out. We're going to get this show in the hands of more people, and that's the way to go. Okay, let's go ahead and get this podcast rolling. Let's get Vanessa on the line. I'm excited to talk to her. Recently got connected with Vanessa, and so let's get her story. Let's hear all about it.
Hello.
Vanessa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I have to apologize. I am normally not 4 minutes late. That is very much unlike me, so I do apologize.
Not to worry.
I was actually looking for the charger for my iPad, and suddenly it appeared. But nevertheless, this is the podcast. I normally just go right into it. And how's your Monday going so far?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Can't complain.
Yeah. What kind of industry are you in for work?
So I work for a graduate school for health professions, and I have a part-time job at the Coach store.
Okay, cool. How did you get into all that stuff there?
I've been working retail for about since I was 18. So
right.
About like 13, 14 years now. And then I started at the school because I wanted a more stable work schedule other than having retail.
Right. And how did you land on like kind of the health area? Like, has that always been kind of a big interest of yours, or?
I went into it as I wanted like a Monday through Friday job because retail was taking a toll on my marriage and I wanted to be home more. So, I was just kind of looking for something, I don't want to say easy, but yeah, kind of easy. And then I landed the job there, and then I just kind of grew with it. I learned what they were all about. And then, now I'm just on that like learning curve. I've been there almost 2 years now, and it's been awesome.
So it sounds like it started out as something that was just like, hey, I just want a gig, like something I can just, kind of sink my teeth into as far as, Monday to Friday, stable. And you ended up coming out on the other end. While it may not have been an interest that you were seeking, it ended up becoming something that you became interested in.
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
cool. Yeah, I can identify with you on like the retail side of it, because I know that I left my retail job to take a different job that was actually paying less, but the emotional effect that it has, for me, it was like, well, you know what? I'll take that. I think it was like $2 or $3 less an hour. I was like, you know what? I'll take that hit to gain back some of my mental stability.
I did the exact same thing. I took a bigger pay cut than I wanted, but my quality of life has just been so much better.
What kind of effect would you say that it had on you? I know you mentioned relationship. What kind of effects did you experience with it? Kind of messing with your mental health.
I was like stressed out all the time. I was only like I felt like I was waking up and going to work, waking up, going to work. Like I had nothing else. I missed so much of like family time and friends, and even though I did have friendships at work, it just like wasn't the same.
Right.
And it was like the first year of my marriage, and I was like, oh my God, like I don't see my husband. I'm not okay with any of this right now. And I want him to find me.
Right. I mean, that's kind of a pivotal thing too. Like the very first year of marriage, which is key. I mean, I think, you're going to find out in that first year if it's going to work or it's not. And,
Yeah.
If something goes wrong in that first year, I think I'm not like a professional statistician or anything like that, but I feel like, probably at least half probably fail, in that first year.
Yeah.
Did it come close, or were you guys just so damn strong that you were able to make it, work?
No, we pushed through. And ironically, today is our second wedding anniversary.
Oh, well, happy anniversary.
Thank you. No, we definitely pushed through. Like I was very lucky. Like he understood like what was going on, but he also understood that it was taking a toll on my health. Being so stressed out, I was developing like ulcers, and I was having like more and more panic attacks
Right.
because I was just so like under a microscope, I felt like. And I was like, I got to a point where at that I was like messing up at work, and I was like, all right, I'm done.
Well, and that's the thing about retail too. I mean, I feel like at, like a, let's just say like your average company, there is obviously some accountability. They're looking to see how well you perform and how well you perform under stress. But I feel like retail, a lot of times you deal with, I mean, and I don't want to say that's all like this, because you do get some good people involved in there, but I feel like there is a lot of people there that are kind of like, oh, well, I got pushed into being a manager. And so they develop these habits. They're almost like, it's like the joke you hear about like mall cops or whatever, where they try to be like more than what they are, and they'll tear you down. They're judging you like 100%. Not everybody, but some people are. And I mean, that can really mess with you too. I dealt with a lot of that.
Right.
And something else you said in there that I thought was really interesting. It's like, you were trying to find you. And what do you think was it? I mean, did you just feel like you had kind of like no direction, or like what was that kind of process like? And are you still on that path?
I feel a little bit more secure on what I want to do. Like, I feel like when I was just literally working and taking orders, and I really was kind of almost like a robot.
Yeah.
You have to do this, you have to do that. And like, I felt like I had like no say in anything. And it's just kind of was like, I mean, where's Vanessa? I stopped doing things that I loved because I was working so much.
Right. And I mean, who is Vanessa? Like, do you have a good definition of what you think that, you should be, like kind of the person that you really want to be?
I just wanted to find my happiness again.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, be comfortable in my relationship again. And I wanted to be someone that someone could look up to almost.
Right.
And it could be something so silly, but it was just something that's what I wanted.
Sure. And when, so you got married 2 years ago. How long had you been with him prior to that?
Dating 2 years, engaged 2 years, and now married 2 years.
Okay, cool. 6 years. I mean, I think that's a pretty good amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you guys meet up? That's always a fun one to hear.
We actually met through Facebook.
Oh, cool.
So, ironically, he is from the same town I'm from, and we had like 43 mutual friends, and I poked him when that was a thing back then.
No, you know what? I don't know that in 2020 poking, quote unquote, in the Facebook context is still a thing, but I remember. I don't think so either. Yeah, but back in the day, like, you know, when you're a single type person, you could interpret poke one of two ways, and I would be lying if I said I'd never poked somebody with the intention of hoping they're like, wow, why is he poking? What's going on here? And wanting them to wonder more. So no, go ahead and continue. I understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, but nothing happened for like over a year and change. I was like, wow, you know what? This kid just totally ghosted me. And then one night a friend requested me. I was watching my niece and my nephew, and he was at his uncle's house watching a football game, I think, or a hockey game. I think it was a hockey game, actually. And we started chatting, and then we didn't meet up until maybe like a month and change after we started talking.
Right.
You know, he had stuff going on, and I was like, you know, I had stuff, and like where I'm from, like the weather is just like terrible. So it's like snowstorms and things like that. So we kind of just got to know each other, just texting for almost a month.
Yeah.
And then we finally went on a date, and then I make a joke saying that we've been attached to the hip ever since.
But, you know, that's kind of how it works, though. It's like you start talking, and it's like a snowball down a damn hill. I mean, that's really how most of this works, right? You start talking, and then it's like every day, it's like 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. It's like at some point we got to get some sleep, but then you have those like long late night conversations where you're like really getting in the thick of it, trying to figure each other out. And yeah, you know, from there, it just kind of snowballs in a good way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And I don't even think I asked you, where did you grow up? Is that where you're at today? Where did you grow up at?
Oh, I grew up right outside of Boston, Mass.
Okay, cool. Is that where you're at today, in that area?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So you like it up there?
Yeah, for the most part. My family's up here, so I don't know if I would particularly leave, but, you know, it's always been a thought in the back of my head.
Yeah, I had a cousin. She used to live up there, and she told me it's very fast paced up there. Is that accurate? Mm-hmm. Who do you think's more crazier, Boston or New York?
We're two different types of crazy.
Okay, all right. How so?
Yes, New York is like busy and it's crowded. There's a lot of people, but I feel like Boston just, you know, work, and I don't know. Yeah. And with fast drivers, like we're tough. We can be tough sometimes.
Yeah, you'll somebody starts driving crazy, you'll pull them over to the side and knock them out.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You know what though? I feel like I don't know. I'd love to see how you guys compare to Virginia drivers, because we have a pretty bad reputation too. Now, not me personally, of course, but there are many people around here that are absolute maniacs. You've never been down this way, have you? The DC area?
I've gone to DC just for like school things, but nothing other than that.
Okay. I would say try to avoid, well, it's not even necessarily DC, because you can get on the metro there and you can hop around and be a tourist, and that's probably fine. But the traffic, like going into like the suburbs of Virginia and Maryland, is an absolute disaster. And honestly, I would avoid it at all costs. You know, if we get done with this podcast and become good buddies, like I'll say, let's meet up somewhere else. Let's meet up outside of this general area, because this place is not fun at all. So, all right. So you've been there in Boston, born and raised. What was your childhood like?
I mean, good. Like, there's not much to say. Like, it was pretty average.
Yeah.
You know?
Both parents around, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Now I'm always happy to hear that. I come from a mother that raised me by herself for a very long time. So it's one of the things I like to ask. I'm like, I hope somebody else had it better than I had.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you're growing up, like what were you like in school? Like what kind of things were you interested in?
Oh, well, I was a band geek and a drama freak.
All right. All right.
I was one of those kids. So that always, like, I had band and I got all my friends from there, and then I was in drama for such a long time. I
Yeah.
loved, and I think that's what kind of helped me do so well in retail, is that in retail I can be an actress. That's not really who I am.
Yes.
Even to this day, my mother and my husband make fun of me because I have a quote unquote retail or customer service voice.
Right.
So that kind of plays hand in hand with that.
And you said in band you played drums, did you say? Is that what you said?
And then I played clarinet, and then in wintertime I played the timpani.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah. That's cool.
So.
And how long did you play in the band?
Like 9 years.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, that's a long time. So you're pretty musically inclined.
Yeah.
I like that. You ever pick up anything else that like you'd find in like your average band, like a guitar, a bass, or drums, anything like that?
No.
Yeah, that and what what was the interest in doing the band? Was it just kind of something to try out, or were you just like a big music freak back in the day, or?
So I've always loved music, but my brother got into it. So then I just kind of like followed into his footsteps, and then I fell in love with it too. So.
Oh, that's cool. And then the whole acting thing, like what brought you into that world?
My brother as well.
Brother as well. All right. We got a very talented family, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I like it.
I just kind of followed in his footsteps. Like, he was doing it. He was having so much fun. That's where his core friends came from. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a shot at it,
Why not?
So I did.
Never really were into like the sports or anything. I know I wasn't.
I mean, we played soccer as kids, but once you got into like high school soccer became like so intense with like tryouts and things like that. And I just couldn't get into it.
I see. Do you have a ton of friends in high school and all that good stuff?
I mean, for the most part, I did. I felt like I did. I feel like everyone kind of knew me.
Right.
For being either in band or in drama.
So there's some popularity around you. They knew of you.
Yeah.
There you go. And what was your favorite I guess play or whatever that you performed in?
Probably The Odd Couple.
Okay, cool. I don't know. I've heard of I know there's a movie out there, The Odd Couple. I don't think I've ever seen it. And what did you do in that? Who did you play in that?
So in The Odd Couple, there's an adaptation of a female version of it. So because we were all primarily females, I played the cop, which is, his name was, I believe, was Mickey. So I played the cop. And ironically, I played the cop in most of my high school plays, and I always kind of grabbed a box of donuts and ate them on stage. Yeah.
Well, what is the harm in that? That sounds like a lot of fun to me. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
The cop, what was it about the way you played a cop that made you like that? They're like, man, Vanessa, she got to play that damn cop.
Probably, maybe because like I kind of demand authority, or I just kind of poke fun at it when it's not supposed to be funny.
Right.
I mean, I was a lot heavier in high school, so like it was kind of funny. Like this is awful to say. It was like, oh, it's a fat cop eating donuts. You know, like.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, that sounds like fun to play a cop. That sounds like, I mean, when you think about it, like kids, like when they go run and play, they pretend to be like cops or robbers or something. There's always like that gravitation as far as like role playing to be like cops. So yeah, that sounds like fun. And then what was your health like, I guess, in those kind of days, your childhood, your teenage years? Was it a problem back then, or did that come later?
Oh yeah, I was a chunker. I was a chunker growing up.
Oh yeah?
Yep. And it never really bothered me. Like it bothered me, but I wasn't really aware of it. I'd always be like, oh yeah, I wish I was thinner, or yes, I got like made fun of for my weight a lot of the times, but in my head I was like, oh, like it's kind of me. Like I don't know how to change it. Like I didn't know what to do, where to start, and I was like, I wasn't into it.
Yeah. What do you think contributed a lot to it? Because you have some people, they either ate a lot, they were still a little active, but they ate too much, or you had the other people that maybe like they were homebodies, they weren't as active, but they like to eat a lot. Like, what kind of category would you say you fell closely into?
I just didn't know what to eat. I was such a picky eater that I would just, I'm just going to go to fast food because I know that's what I like. I never ate vegetables. I was just eating legit crap all the time.
Yeah.
Like I was always busy with either band or drama that I needed something quick and I needed something fast. And I never had was able to have like home cooked meals, or if I did, it wasn't until like 10:30 at night.
Yeah. No, I identify a lot with that because I know for me, I was a very picky eater. I still am very much so. And so, when we start talking about the weight loss here stuff in a moment, I mean, that is something that is still difficult because there are only certain things that I like. And so when you're growing up, you're telling me, I'm a very picky eater. I like to I go to the fast food. It's easy. So what we have here is number one, picky eater. Number two, you're looking for that convenience because, the thought of, oh my God, I got to cook this or that. Like there's no way I don't have time. This is easier, and I think that's why a lot of us have gotten into that because of there's the convenience of it. And, especially when you throw in picky eater, I mean, you got a cocktail for potential disaster there. I mean, and I've fallen right into those traps. So I know exactly where you're coming from on that. And so, when you're kind of eating this bad stuff, are you like binge eating with it where you're eating a lot, or you're just eating it maybe more so often, but just like normal meals of it?
I think when I was younger, I was just kind of eating until like I felt my fullest. Like I wasn't aware that I was like binging at this point because I wasn't aware of what binge eating was.
Right.
I was naive to everything. So I think I was just eating to feel full, or I was just eating because it was in front of me.
Yeah.
Or that's what I was supposed to eat.
Yeah. And the thing too is like, eating to feel full, because over time, being full, I mean, you can stretch that out more and more and more before you realize that next thing you know, there's a lot more going in there.
Right.
Yeah, that can be a big problem. And so you said a lot of fast food was kind of mainly the thing that you were diving into there.
Mm-hmm.
What was your go-to, like a McDonald's or something like that?
Yeah, like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, stuff like that.
Yeah, that stuff is pretty tough. How bad would you say? Like, what was your kind of I don't know what's the word, like breaking point? Like how bad does it get before you're like, man, I got to do something here?
Like when was my aha moment?
Yeah.
So I was in an industry that it was all about looks, and I actually almost lost my job because of my appearance. And I was like, is this for real? Like, I'm going to lose my job because like I'm overweight or I don't look like everybody else. That like seemed so unfair. While I was dealing with this struggle, I got into a very bad car accident. And it's amazing that I am alive. And even the paramedics were like, we don't know how you survived this, but, you know, we're going to do some testing. And over the next couple of months, I realized that I gave myself a hernia and I gave myself gastritis. I never knew I had these issues until that moment.
Right.
And the doctor gave me a list and says, you need to cut this food out of your life. I'm like, oh, okay. So when I cut that food out, because I realized every time I ate it, I would get myself sick.
Oh, yeah.
And I never noticed it before. And I think with the impact of the accident, my stomach was now a little bit more sensitive.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Everything. So I realized when I cut that food out, I wasn't feeling sore. Like my stomach wasn't sore, and I didn't have a stomach ache, because I always remember when I was younger, I always had a stomach ache. I was always like feeling crappy, or I just wasn't feeling myself. And then I realized I cut that food, I was losing weight. I was like, oh, okay.
It's like this now.
I was like, oh, all right, I can do this. This is cool. And then he says, okay, incorporate exercise now. And I was so scared to go to the gym. I didn't want to go to the gym. I was so nervous. So I was like, let me find something that I know that I can stick to. So I found Zumba.
Yeah.
And I went to my first Zumba class. I came home. I was drenched. And I said, oh my God, I'm going every night. This is going to change my life. And lo and behold, we are now at almost, I think, 8 years this week that I have been going faithfully to the Zumba studio. I'm a Zumba instructor, and it changed my life completely. I fell in love with it. I've loved the people who own the studio I go to. They have just been so amazing through everything. And I realized, like, I lost a lot of weight. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But before all that happiness said, oh my God, I lost so much weight, I became obsessed. So then when I started feeling comfortable in myself, I started going to the gym in the morning.
Right.
Now I'm finding myself at the gym an hour and a half. Now I'm going to Zumba 2-3 hours at night. And I'm realizing I'm not eating.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm developing an eating disorder. And then when I realized I'm not eating, I binge. And then I was like, oh my God, I ate so much. I have to go work out. And now I'm over-exercising. So I fell into these categories of different eating disorders because I couldn't get a grasp of my own life. I loved what I was doing, exercising. I loved what my body was becoming, but I was doing it all the wrong way. It was a point where I just completely stopped eating, and I couldn't hold down food anymore because I shocked my body so much. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing to myself? I was exercising more than I was actually working at that point.
And so, you know, kind of this behavior that developed, is this tied, would you say, is it fair to say that it was tied a lot to you were seeing, let's say, the number on the scale going up or down, and you're reacting kind of in a, you know, I don't know if knee jerk is the right way, but like, you know, okay, it's gone up. Now I got to go this hard, or it's going down. I got to go hard in this other direction. How much does that play, you know, a role into that?
Oh, absolutely. Or if I see like, oh, my arm is jiggling this week. Oh, I better work on my arms. Or I just became so obsessed with numbers and what was going into my body and making sure I was sweating at the gym and, you know, just doing cardio and a little bit of weights and not realizing how much more damage I was doing to my body until I overdid it. And I ruptured 3 discs in my back.
Ouch.
Yep.
How long did that sideline you for?
So I was out of Zumba for, I believe it was like a month and change, but I was on my feet all the time. So I was like, oh my God, like this pain is excruciating. What am I going to do? Like, I don't know what I'm going to, you know, it just, it was killing me. So I tried to like recover a little bit, but it wasn't like really working. So I really had to take a step back and like kind of get a grip and not exercise as much. And now I'm like kind of feeling bad. I'm not exercising so much. So I was like, okay. And then I started with food.
Right.
I was like, all right, okay. And then I met my husband. And my husband loves food, and you know, you're newly dating, and what do? You go out to eat. And then all of a sudden the numbers going up, and I'm missing Zumba, and I'm missing the gym. But it's okay because, you know, I'm with somebody now because I never thought I would find love. And, you know, like, it's all right. He loves me for me, and it's okay that I gained weight and blah, 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 blah. And then I realized that my hard work. So initially I lost 107 pounds naturally. And I gained like 75 of it being with him. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do to myself?
Right. You're really happy. You're living in the moment. You're going out to eat, all these things. And that's kind of a thing too, right? Like when you get involved in like a new relationship, like your whole schedule, other than work, because work is kind of non-negotiable, but the rest of your schedule kind of just goes out the damn window. And it's like, all right, well, you know, we're going to go here, we're going to go there. And it's like you mentioned, I'm missing Zumba here and working out here because your schedule just kind of goes right out of the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was introducing new foods to me that I never had. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But like, I still kind of kept a mentality where I was like, no, you have to work out, you know, but it wasn't like my top priority anymore. Like, it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
So like I kind of fluctuated with weight. Like I was really good, and like I was watching what I was eating, and I was tracking my calories, and I was doing that, but I could never. And then I realized that I wouldn't eat because I was like, oh, I'm going to go out with him, like, so I'm not going to eat all day. And then I would literally like binge myself when I was with him. And even after, like, if he left, I would binge him more. And then I realized I developed a binge eating disorder where I would hide and just eat all this amount of food, and because I didn't want to eat so much in front of him. Like I would eat, but like I would, when he was out of the room, I would just completely keep eating and drinking. And
yeah, and the binge eating too, that becomes a thing where like a lot of times, like, you know, let's say, like you said, you know, I eat all day, and then at the end of the day, boom, like a lot of times that binge equals a lot more than you would have eaten across 3 meals.
Right.
Yeah, that's nuts. I've been there.
Yep.
And the hiding too. That's another thing, like that you mentioned. You know, I was one of these guys where I'd stop off and, you know, go to the fast food, but before I went home to my wife, like I'm dropping trash in the dumpster before I get upstairs to the apartment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There were moments that the like McDonald's bags were like in the front seat, and I'd like crumble them up, and like I wouldn't even like throw it away in my trash. I'd go like to a neighbor's trash and throw it away, so that no one would know that I was me.
Okay, but here's the fun question I like to ask next when I know there are other people like that, and that is, did you ever get caught by him doing this?
Not that I would get caught, because not like he would like quote unquote care that I was eating.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like he never really, like, my weight has never been like an issue with him, or it's more like what I wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't like him catching me. It was more like, and let's rewind for a second. The doctor said I shouldn't be eating that. Guess what? Vanessa was in a lot of pain after we gained all that weight back and started eating like shit again.
That's another thing too that you mentioned. It's like, you know, the eating all the bad stuff. And, you know, when you're being told, like, you know, you're having the stomach aches, you got to get off this stuff and onto the other stuff. How hard of like a transition is it to go from quote unquote the bad stuff to the better stuff? Because I know for a lot of people I've talked to, it can be quite a challenging, you know, transition, even if it's like, hey, my health depends on this. I will hurt if I eat this. But then like for some people, it's like, well, the hell with it. I'm so used to this. I just go with it.
Yeah. So there are like some stuff, like I'd have to be like really into the food to like be, if it's worth the stomach ache.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is this really worth a stomachache or no? Because there are moments where I'd be like keeled over in pain, like almost in tears. That's how bad my stomach would get.
Right.
So there are moments where I'm like, I don't know, is this worth it or not worth it? But during that time, I was like, no, I want to eat this. Yes. Like, yeah, I want it. And I just was like, the food was more important than my health.
Yeah. And the pain, well, you know, when you say you're like keeled over, we're talking like 10 out of a 10, right? Like the worst pain possible.
Yeah. There were moments where I was like, I'm done. Just take me to the hospital. Like, I don't know what to do at this point. I was an idiot, you know?
But it's like, I got to have like this
self-sabotaging. Yeah, absolutely. I was self-sabotaging myself. It wasn't even so much about like gaining weight anymore. It was more like, I'm in a lot of pain. Like, this is like not okay.
Yeah.
You know, I have my trigger food still that I literally like, I don't think I'll ever give up. But I know, like, in moderation that I still can't eat it.
Yeah. How much, I mean, you know, living a life of eating like the fast food, because I've, like I said, I've been there. Like, what, how much money do you think you've spent like in a given week just on food, you know, before the changes?
Oh, man. I would probably say maybe $100 just on me.
Wow.
That's like a guesstimation. If I would have to, yeah.
So like your average drive-through visit's about $20.
Probably. Yeah.
Man.
Or if I wasn't satisfied with the first place, then I have to go to another place.
Yeah, if it ain't good, man, I want to get that good. Like, fuck it, I'm going to go to the next place.
No, what if I wanted something different? What if I wanted, you know?
You would have a thing where like, let's say you go to McDonald's drive-through first, and then you're like, oh, but wait, I really want to get this. So then you just go to the other one, like in the same trip.
Yeah.
Wow. I've done that.
Like, you know, I want fries from here, but I want chicken from here.
Right.
But, I want a taco too. So.
Yeah, I've done like McDonald's and Taco Bell in the same run before. Like, well, I want this McDouble with the mac sauce, but once in a while, like, damn, I really want that cheese roll up or the chicken burrito with that green sauce in it, you know, or whatever the hell it was. And so, you know, it's like, oh, well, they're like right across the street from each other. Why the hell not? And you know what? If since we're already there, damn, Dairy Queen's across the way. There's a good Blizzard I can go get right about now too.
Yeah, you go to Wendy's and get a Frosty.
Yeah. I used to have that Frosty card. Remember, you pay like I don't know what, $5 or $10.
Oh yeah,
for a year, and you get the little Frosty anytime you want.
Mm-hmm.
God, Wendy's, man, they're such enablers. What's going on?
I know, bastards.
I know. And to think though, you know, a lot of the life change, you know, came from this car accident. I mean, you know, you found the Zumba, you started getting into a healthy lifestyle, and yeah, you developed some of these other habits that you eventually corrected. But it's like, you know, was it, you know, when you look back at this accident, you know, in a way, it's kind of like, wow, you know, this thing happened and it actually changed me for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I got into, you know, like I was in retail, so my life was like go, 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 go.
Yep.
So then I just started needing like, and then I was trying to incorporate like more like healthier foods because I wanted to get back to where I was. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And he proposed to me, and I was like, oh my God, now I have to like fit into a wedding dress.
Oh yeah. That's what you guys always think about, the women. You're always like, that dress, I got to fit in that dress.
Yep. I had a size in my head that I wanted to order, and I was like, I'm going to work so hard to get to it. And, you know, I expressed to him like my behaviors in the past. And, ironically, he has, you know, a personal training, you know, certificate, and he was also on The Biggest Loser many years ago.
Oh, wow.
So he knows. Yeah. So he knows like what's good and what can help me. And, you know, when I told him my issues in the past, he never wanted me to fall into that trap again of being so obsessed with the scale or being so obsessed with, you know, how many hours I'm working out at the gym and things like that. He wants to make sure that I did it in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So, when I said I wanted to lose weight for the wedding, he came with me to the gym. We took a few classes together, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can, but then my job got the best of me. And like, I kept teetering over like these 20 pounds, like here and there. And when I got my dress, it wasn't what I wanted, but I was like, you know what? I'm happy, and I'm going to lose weight up until the wedding, and we're just going to go with it,
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So, he ended up getting sleeve surgery, and he went through that change himself.
Right.
And I supported him 100%. I mean, I know that he could have done it by himself, but he's just like, I need it. I need some help. And I said, okay, we, get it. We're in it together. Don't worry about it. So for our wedding, he looks amazing in his tux, and here I come like a marshmallow walking down the aisle.
Right.
Oh my God, he'd kill me if I called myself a marshmallow like that, but whatever. I was like, oh, okay. All right. And then, first year married. Okay. We're getting back and forth. And then I got the new job. And then I was like, okay, it's time. It's time.
Right.
I saw a picture of myself on my 30th, which was last year. And I was like so disappointed in myself. I said, what am I doing? I know what to do. Vanessa, get your shit together. Get 30. Let's go. I was like, all right. So then I did a lot of research on what, like nutrition. And I was like, I never wanted to like call myself that I was on a diet, quote unquote. I just wanted to learn how to eat again. I realized over the years, I didn't know how to properly eat. I didn't know what should be on my plate, when I work out, what I should eat or things like that.
Yeah.
And now here I am. And I feel like I have a grasp of, I feel like I will always have an issue or like a bad relationship with food, but I feel like I'm at a better point in my life and a better understanding on what food I should be eating.
And that can help fix, a lot of things, just getting your mental self, your life in order. I think that can fix, kind of a lot of things. And then when you're ready, you just adjust on the other stuff. And I think, I always am a proponent of getting the mental side of it straight before anything else, because I think that's the driver. That's what gets you through everything. And so if that's not straight, you can't possibly expect to have your food in order, your health in order, or, anything, careers, it all starts up here in your brain. And that, as they say, the buck stops there ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a doctor's appointment, and she said, if you want to get pregnant, you really need to lose weight. And I was like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, you won't be able to, have a baby at the weight you are. I was like, oh my God. So that was another thing that kind of like pushed me to like, okay, I really got to do something if I want a baby.
Right.
Like I got to kick it up to speed.
Yeah. I mean, that can also be an ultimate motivator. It's like, I want to be a mother. So let me work on this, and it all comes together.
Mm-hmm.
What, you mentioned, the obsession with the scale, and that's something I certainly talk about a lot here, but I don't know that I've ever really asked somebody this direct. So, I mean, what, we'll just go right with it. We always hear about how people get obsessed with the scale. How do you think you became obsessed with the scale at the time when you were?
I realized like I noticed changes in my body, and I was like, all right, let me see what it says.
Yeah.
So I just stepped on the scale, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I would step on the scale a week later, or like 2 weeks later. And then I did like a week, and then I did every day. And then I was like, if I was home, I was doing it like twice a day.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
To me, I was like, I did it budge? Did it budge? Or like, if I drank water and I peed it out, like, oh my God, I'm going to run to the scale. And now I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I can do it once a week. If I don't do it once a week, all right, I'll do it every other week. Where I'd rather see changes in my body in the mirror than numbers on the scale. Yes, I want to focus on that number on the scale, but I don't want that to be my priority because I know I can get obsessive with that. That's like tracking my food. I can get to a point where I'm like obsessing over, oh my God, I had 200 calories here, 300 calories there. Oh my God, what am I doing?
Right.
I can't live like that because that's going to stress me out, and it gets me even a little bit more crazier about it.
Were you also doing like measurements and stuff, or just scale?
So I never did measurements just because I never like learned how to, not like learn, but it never was a thing to me.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if it like was instilled in my head years ago that I probably would be like, okay, yep, we're doing measurements. But I never got into that.
I never did either, but I've always heard that, they can tell kind of a better story ultimately, or it's just like when you say like, how do my clothes feel? Like, okay, they feel a little bit tight. I can tell I'm either one bloated, cause I don't think anybody truly gains, 10 pounds overnight. A lot of that's water weight and all that kind of stuff. But like, how do your clothes feel and stuff like that? Cause I think that can be a great combatant to the scale, because I'm actually in a position now where I do weigh myself every day, but it's kind of like I finally, after 3 years, have learned that number, it's a piece of information. I put it into an app and then I close it. And the next day I put in a different number. And it's fine, but I've learned more over time, like, how do my clothes feel? How do my pants, my shirt, does it feel like it's going on easily? Does it feel loose? Does it feel tight? And I can kind of use that as a better kind of indicator as opposed to the number, because that number can fluctuate, like crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I had one time where I had like a day that I overate. I think it was this year or last year or whatever, around Thanksgiving. Like I was like, okay, I know that I overdid it. It's like, okay, damn, Gary, you need to chill out. But like I was like down on the scale, right? Where we think like, oh, he should have been up. That would be the logical thought. I was actually down, and I don't even know how that happened, because I really didn't do anything after that. So that scale is definitely not always 100% the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But you feel like right now you're in like a really good spot.
Yeah, I do.
That's good. And so what kind of routine do you have now? Like, when do you go in and get all your workouts done and all that stuff?
So I wake up every morning and I do a beach body workout.
Right.
And those are like, I do typically do like a half hour, 45 minutes, depending on which, program I am doing.
Yeah.
I'll do that in the morning, and then I work out on my lunch break every single day, because I have a gym buddy at work and there's a gym at where I work. So, and it's free for us.
That's cool.
So we just kind of go on our lunch break, and I get to work out there. And if I don't work my second job at night, I go to Zumba. And I go to Zumba on the weekends too. Primarily just Saturdays, but if I can go on both days, I would. But,
so you've got a pretty productive schedule in between working. You've got a pretty productive workout schedule.
Yes, for sure.
Wow. And so your food now, like how in line, how good is it now? Like, are you like the meal prepper type, or are you like, how are you doing your food now?
So I actually don't meal prep. I think about what I'm going to eat. I just don't prep it like on like a Sunday or a Monday, things like that, because I absolutely hate leftovers. I think they're disgusting.
I'm with you.
I can't do it. I try. There's some things I will eat leftover, but I can't do it. So like, I'll think about like, if I'm like, when I get ready in the morning, if I'm in the shower, I'll think about like what I'm wearing for the day and like what I'm going to eat for the day.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
No, I'm with
you. And I have to think about what I'm doing at night. Like, am I going to work, or am I coming home to Zumba? Like,
right.
What time? Like, I'm all about like timing my stuff too. Like my breakfast, my snacks, my lunch, because I always typically eat dinner later at night, because I also stay up later.
Yeah.
So, because everyone has that thought process, oh, you shouldn't eat past 8. Well, I mean, I'm starting my meals at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, but I don't go to bed until, sometimes I go to bed later because I conditioned my body to eat that late.
Yeah.
Like I can't eat early or I'm just going to be eating all night.
Yeah, I know there's probably people that are like listening in their cars or while they're working out and they're just like, oh, you don't like leftovers. What's wrong with you people? It's like, no, what's wrong with you?
No, like, I think after people hear this, they're going to like literally hate me. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't eat leftovers? What do you mean that you eat that late? I mean, this works for me. I'm not telling everyone to do this.
Yeah, no, it's different. It's different strokes for different folks. I mean, that's cliche as hell to say, but like it's accurate. Like we all have our different things. Like, I mean, I eat as late as you do, but I'm with you on the leftover thing. Like I mean, there are some things where I can do it like one night later, or one day later. Sure. But like anything beyond that, like forget about it. Like for me right now, I'm in a position where I'm normally going to like a Walmart because I get up so early for the gym, but I'm getting up to Walmart before I go into work, and I'll stop and I'll grab one or two of those like small, like $2-3 salads, and I'll have that for a lunch, like at work. And the only thing that's really like, I don't know that you can call it prep, but I mean, I have it in stock at work is cereal. I like my Raisin Bran. I have a friend on Instagram. I don't know if you know her, Nikki Bronx 787. She makes fun of me. She calls it my old man cereal, but I love my Raisin Bran. So, I mean, that's kind of the only predictable element to my food is like I have my Raisin Bran every morning. And then for lunch, it's typically, unless my office caters and stuff, it's typically like a $3 salad from Walmart, which fills me up. I mean, it's a little thing, but it fills me up pretty good. And then dinner is just whatever the hell it's going to be. Cause between my wife and I, like, we're both like, what do you want? What do you want, babe? Oh, I don't know. And that's like, You ever get into that with your husband? Like, what do you want, babe? Oh, I don't know. What do you want? No, I don't know.
So we typically have that little, back to back on like Saturdays because I'm going to go food shopping on Sundays.
Yeah.
And I kind of plan our meals for the week, and I'm just like, all right, this week we're going to have this, or I'll ask him, do you have any cravings this week? Like, what are you craving? Things like that.
Yeah.
And whatever like he wants is I try to figure out if I'm working or if I'm home, can I cook that or can he cook that? Like, is it something that I need to make or him make? And we just kind of go back and forth on who's going to A, make dinner, and then B, what are we going to have? And then I try to ask him, like, if I am going to Zumba and I am doing 2 classes, could I just have like a bigger meal? Like that would be a night that I have like more carbs or things like that.
Yeah. But you guys never have like the big, you don't have the big fight. We get crazy with each other. Like, oh, come on. What do you mean you don't know? I will argue for 10 minutes sometimes about this.
It's kind of like that on weekends because we kind of don't plan our weekends. We're typically like Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, we kind of just figure it out as we go, whether like we like go out or pick up food, things like that. But yeah, Monday through Friday, we're pretty good.
Well, that's good to hear because I know Monday through Friday over here can be kind of a shit show. And I know my wife's listening. I'm not saying that as a slight. We're both like that. I love you, honey. I don't hate me for this. But it can kind of be a shit show because we're just like, I don't know. And then like on nights like this where I do the podcast, I'm like, okay, well, when I get done, I'll just figure it out. And normally, her job keeps her late. So it buys me enough time to kind of figure things out or, whatever but we always come together and figure it out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
We don't just completely starve. I think there was like one night where we legitimately did not eat anything till like 10 o'clock. And that was just way too late. And finally I was like, okay, I'll just make you something and I'm going to go to bed because this is way too late.
Right.
So, as we kind of get into the wrap up here, Instagram, that's always something I like to bring up because that's what brings us together. It's what brings a lot of the listeners here to the podcast. And so, I was looking here at your Instagram. One of the things I always ask people is if they remember what their first post was on Instagram. Do you remember by chance before I tell you what it was?
I think my first post was, I want to say a picture of my nephew, I think, or...
There is a baby here, so I'm gonna take your word for it. That is your nephew. August 11th, 2012. The caption just says, my life. And so, wow. Okay. So you've been on Instagram now for going on 8 years.
Yep. So that's my nephew then.
Okay, cool. And so, so with the Instagram, because, there's all the weight loss community and all that, like, how do you find your way into this community? Cause I always I think it's interesting to hear how people kind of like find out about everybody.
So I started following kind of like weight loss communities when my husband was going into surgery.
Okay.
I wanted to know all the information to help him because I knew that he was going to go to doctor's appointments. You know, like, yes, he knew about it, but I wanted to give him more ideas. And I was so intrigued with everything, and I wanted to know more, and I knew that it was going to benefit me. So I started following people who've had, like, the gastric sleeve surgery, just like he did. And I'd be like, oh, you know, on Instagram, this person is, like, eating this. Do you want to try that one night? And he'd be like, yeah, sure. Or, like, no, that's not for me. Or, like, if I made his lunches, I knew what to make. You know, like, I knew what to do for him.
Yeah.
And then it kind of spiraled where I was like, oh, I'm going to try it. I want to eat like this. So I started eating like things that people posted. And then I started seeing people like going to the gym at like 4:00 in the morning. I was like, why am I not doing that? And I was like, okay, I can do that. And then people were just so inspiring with their stuff. I was like, wait, I can do that. And then I just started following all these people, and like everyone's just like, I feel like everyone's just like high-fiving people and like hugging people and thinking like, oh my God, like this is just like so amazing. And then it just kind of spiraled into that.
It's a big motivator, isn't it? It's like you see all these people totally. And I mean, I definitely credit this community for a lot. I mean, obviously it's you in the gym, it's you eating what you eat, you know, you're doing the work, but from a mental perspective, and there could be a lot of bad stuff on the community, and we could talk about it too, but I think for the good, which I think outweighs everything, it's like, you know, there's a lot of caring people who can absolutely relate to just about any situation. There's always at least one person that can relate to exactly what you're going through, and it can be a big help because now you make a bunch of new friends and you're communicating with people and you guys are all kind of on the same page.
Absolutely. My husband makes fun of me because I say, oh, you know, like my friend on Instagram, he's like, are they really your friend, Vanessa? Or are they like people that you just kind of follow? Do they know that you're friends or what? So now I just say, oh, you know, like my friend that doesn't know who they're my friends. You know, like.
He's very critical.
No, not like that. He's just like, he thinks sometimes I get a little too much into like Instagram where I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Or like, okay. Because I just like get so excited, or like, oh my God, look how awesome this person was, or you know what they did, and you know what they're eating. I just feel like I'm part of everyone's life.
Yeah. Needless to say, he's not a big Instagrammer himself.
Not really. No, he's not too much into the social media. It's like he has them, but he's like not like.
He's not sharing.
Typically not, unless if it's like our nieces and nephews. But
I see. I'm sure he probably certainly thought it was interesting that it's like, hey, hon, I'm going to jump on this podcast with this person from Instagram.
Well, he knows that I'm like on an accountability group, and that's how I like, you know, it's like that's how I met a bunch of these like girls now that are just like, oh my God, like we talk like all day, every day, and I love them to pieces. Like they're just great, and that's how I met Kaitlyn, and that's why I asked you. I was like, wait, who nominated me? Like, wait, what? Like, but
well, you can tell her that you've done this now. By the way, I've talked to her a little bit, and she said she wanted to do the show. I sent her my link. She has not gotten back to me. So I think now that somebody that she knows has been on, you can tell her, hey, I went on this thing, and I'm sure.
I am so calling her out on this because if she nominated me and I was like so nervous about doing this, I'm going to smack her.
I may have just stirred some shit, folks, but you know what?
Yeah, you did.
I'm going to stir the pot a little bit. I mean, hey, it didn't go so bad, right? You know, we made it just about an hour here, and it's like, hey, this is not all that terrible, right?
No, not bad.
Okay, fantastic. Not bad. There you go. So I guess as we wrap up here, anything, you know, it's kind of the new year, and a lot of people, they're kind of like refocusing their goals and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, as we are entering 2020 here, what is some of the stuff that you are working on and hope to accomplish in this year?
what I want to accomplish is to probably get back to my lowest in a healthy manner. And I'm on that road. You know, I know the number on the scale from at that point to like this point. So I know where I have to do to get to it. And then I just have like more personal goals, like with like my husband and I and family, and, you know, just trying to make it better. We had a very tough 2019 as a family. So I just kind of want to bring everyone's spirits back up.
There you go. Well, I think this is a good time to do it. And Vanessa, I just want to say I really appreciate your time. You've been so gracious with it. And just before you go, tell the people if they want to reach out to you on the gram, as the kids say, where can they do that?
So my handle is BMGG22.
All right.
And you can absolutely follow me, DM me. I'm all about it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for jumping on today. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and we will talk very soon.
Thank you.
All right. What a fun chat with Vanessa. Thanks again. Make sure you guys go out there and check her on Instagram. I'm going to link her Instagram in the show notes so you can check that out at your leisure. That's going to do it for me for this week. Of course, don't forget patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you want to support the show, donate a little bit, get some extra, some of those perks, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or actually, if you want to do the Patreon, also leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That would be amazing. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support. I'll talk to you guys again really soon.